I'm going to do a bit more on the gasser today. Hopefully just going to try and go through and crack all the cylinder nuts before we pull the engine out of the frame. So I'm just going to get into pulling a few bits and pieces off to get in there and talk about it as we go, as per usual. So just going to get this starter motor out of the way first. Usually just come out with a bit of a twist. There's our starter motor all nicely greased up. Make sure we don't get too much water in there. These O-rings do have a habit of wearing a bit. We might look at replacing that. And now for the power valve cover. This left side is notorious for holding oil in there. Just unburnt two-stroke premix oil, so I'm just going to put a bit of a rag over there for now, in case it comes out. Pull out all these. And I thought that might happen too. We'll get the rubber mallet and give that a quick little tap. Hopefully the gasket in there will stay in one piece, but I'm pretty sure I've got a spare. Pop. Oh, and as you can see, there's oil running out of there everywhere. There is a little bleed hole in there, but they often block up pretty quickly. You can tell I run this bike at pretty low revs a lot of the time to get that much oil in there. And just see if we can get in there a bit closer. You can see how mucky that really is in there. Not looking very pretty at all. So we'll give that all a good clean up as we go. This is the nut down in here. As you can see, it is really gunky. So I'm going to have a go at cleaning up around that a little bit before I even try and crack that nut. Oh. Just going to give it a bit of a spray in there with some parts cleaner. I think we might even get a bit of a toothbrush in there and just try and clean up those couple of top threads there before I try and crack that. Might even leave all this soak just for a little bit. These nuts are notorious to get into, notoriously hard to get into, I should say. Make sure you've got a spanner that fits really well, and I suggest cracking these front two nuts, one on either side, before you do the back ones. If you strip one of these nuts, I know one of the nuts in here has got a little bit of issues on the corners. I think it must be on the other side. So I'm going to pick the worst one of those two and crack it first. But yeah, be wary of that. Make sure you've got some good spanners to do it. Right, yeah, going to do the power valve cover on the other side now. This one's usually a bit cleaner inside, just because it does drain back into the crankcase. Oh, grab a mallet again. Just give that a little tap there like that. Hopefully not destroy the gasket. We're lucky. And there we go. That one's popped off as well. Nice. Now, the next little trick with these, hopefully you can see, it's really not that bright in there. We've got the little ball connector there for the power valve. Actually, I might try and get a bit more light in here so you guys can see what's going on. Hang on one second. Okay, not sure if that's much better, but this little ball joint here, there's actually a tiny little clip on the bottom edge there. You do have to pull that clip out before the ball joint will come off, so don't just try and yank it off without getting that clip there out. If I remember correctly, a bit fiddly as per all of this sort of stuff. You just kind of pop it off that side there, and then it goes around the back there and clips in there. So I hope you can see that little clip there. Make sure you get that out, and then the ball joint will just come straight off. If you just try and yank them off, you just end up breaking stuff. Don't lose that clip. So then we have the other bolt in here. I think this might be the one that's a little bit damaged actually, by the looks of that. So anyway, hopefully we can get that out without too much trouble, or at least loosen it off anyway. We'll see how I go. Rightio, well I managed to get that one cracked on the other side, nice and easy. I didn't want to film it in case there was a bit of swearing involved, but get a nice tight fitting 13mm, make sure it's sitting on those nuts properly, and then I just use my hammer and just gently give those nuts a bit of a tap, just to break them. And that one's loose as well. So far so good. I'm going to leave those back ones tight for now. I'm going to end up just sort of trying to loosen a few bits and pieces in this engine before I pull it out of the frame. As I mentioned, I don't really have a decent engine stand, but those two concern me. They're always a bit tricky to get into there with your spanners. So yeah, that's about that for now. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is just pull off the forks and front wheel. That'll enable me to get the clutch out of through there so that we can pull the engine out. I'm going to leave the clutch hooked up. The hydraulic clutches can be slightly problematic if you pull them apart. Often the slave cylinder will pop out, or the slave cylinder piston will pop out, and sometimes you can damage the seal with those. So I'm going to actually just leave all that in there while I work on the engine. One little tip that I have learnt over the years though is when you get down to a bike that's stripped down this much, before you take all the wheels off, tie it up. I've just got this one over a beam with a tie down through the handlebars there, but pretty much once you take that front end off and the front wheel's not on the ground, the whole frame and engine's just going to fall over and give you lots of grief. So make sure you do that. Rightio, front wheel out. Oh, it's tight. Both a bit tight on that side. Axle out, front wheel out. And out with the fork legs. Next I'm just going to pull off my Polio Sports case covers here, just so I've got enough clearance to get the engine mount bolts out. Yep, that doesn't want to come out. I'll have to use a proper Allen key. And as you can see, they do hold a bit of dirt, so we'll do a bit of a clean up of that before we take too much off. These little guys are pretty handy though, not foolproof, but they definitely help stop some of the damage that you may get to engine cases, so I do recommend those. Obviously you should take them off a bit more regularly than I do and clean underneath. Okay, now for the last bit of fun, I've pulled out the engine mount bolts. Just going to remove that spark plug. so that doesn't get in the way or hit by anything. And let's see if we can get this bloody thing out of here. Always a bit of a trick to do this, but we'll see how we go today. Well, there you have it. Engine out of the frame. So guys, there we have it, bare frame. I just pulled the triple clamps out, didn't think there was any need to video that. Also pulled off the chain rollers. I think the next step's just to give this bike, or to give the frame a really good clean. Lots of bits of muck in there. I have left a few little bits on, like the kickstand, foot pegs, the other little bracket and grommet and whatever else. I am a bit curious as to how far I should take this. I have noticed some of the paint, hopefully it doesn't fall off, down here, especially on the bottom of the frame rails, is pretty much all gone. I actually suspect that this is powder coated rather than painted from factory. I'm beginning to wonder how far I should take it. Please leave a comment as to what you guys think. Should I take this in to get sandblasted and repainted or repowder coated or something to that effect? What do you think would be the best option? Or should I just leave it and slap it all back together and keep shredding the thing? Didn't really want to spend too much money on the bike, to be honest with you, but once you've gone this far, do you turn it into a rebuild or a restoration job? Anyway, I'll have a go editing this video. That might be it for this one for now. Probably won't go into too much detail of giving the frame a big scrub down and all that sort of stuff. It's not really that interesting. I'll be hitting it with a bit of truck wash and pressure washer and scrubbing brushes and whatever else I may need to try and clean it up a bit. But yeah, please leave a comment as to whether you think I should do just a restoration, or whether I should do just a rebuild or a full restoration. And yeah, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Definitely helps out for me, helps me out to bring out a bit more content. And yeah, thanks for watching.